Today, we're making a classic Vietnamese at-home dish, Suon Ram Man, or caramelized ribs. But instead of the typical spare ribs that's commonly used, we're gonna make it with some baby back ribs today. These ribs are tender, sweet, sticky, and actually really easy to make and comes together in just about an hour. Now, when I think of nostalgic Vietnamese comfort food, this is one of those dishes that always brings me right back to my childhood. And I'm excited to share a little bit of my heritage and culture with you. So do me a favor and make sure you like, comment, share, and save this video. Just look how it pulls off that bone. All right, y'all, remember to wash your hands. Now, this recipe is typically made with spare ribs, but these baby back ribs were on sale for $3.79 a pound at my local Vietnamese grocery store, and I thought they would be absolutely perfect here. Now, these ribs did come pre-cut and processed already, but if your grocery store sells them in a rack, make sure you peel off that back membrane and cut the ribs in between the bones. We're gonna parboil the ribs for about 5 to 10 minutes, as this will help reduce some of its porky odor and scum. We'll drain the ribs and rinse with cold water and scrub away any little bits. And then we'll just add them to a mixing bowl. Now for our marinade, we'll finally chop up a small shallot and we'll add in about 2 tablespoons of that to our mixing bowl. Then I have a tablespoon of garlic that I processed earlier. And then to our bowl, we'll add in half a tablespoon of fish sauce, half a tablespoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of MSG. Alternatively, you can also use chicken bouillon. Then we'll add in a pinch of salt and pepper, a splash of oil, and we'll get our hands dirty and give that a good mix. We're gonna let this vibe out in the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes to allow those flavors to get nice and intimate. And if you like this recipe and you wanna learn how to make more of your favorite Vietnamese and Asian dishes, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications to stay up to date on all my latest posts. In the meantime, we'll chop up some green onions to use as a garnish later. And then I have a couple of Thai chilies that I'll slice thinly, and this will go in with our pork to braise later. Now the next step is making our Nuoc Mao, or Vietnamese caramel. This technique is commonly used in Vietnamese cooking for many different types of braised dishes, and it adds sweetness, a little bit of smokiness, and a ton of depth to our dish. So to a pot on medium-low, I'll add in about 2 tablespoons of sugar, and we're gonna slowly cook this while occasionally stirring to prevent it from burning. And eventually that sugar will start to crystallize for a little bit before melting, and then after 5 or 6 minutes of cooking on low, that sugar should start to turn a dark amber color. Just make sure you take some time here and practice a little bit of patience. It's important that you don't burn the Nuoc Mao, as that will impart an acrid flavor that will completely ruin the dish. Now to our pot, we'll add in our ribs and all of that marinade, and we'll brown that off for just a couple of minutes. Then I have a can of Coco Rico, and we'll only need about half of the can, depending on the size of your pot. You want just enough to barely cover the ribs. The Coco Rico will add a subtle sweetness and will also help tenderize the pork as it braises. If you can't find Coco Rico, some good substitutions would either be coconut water or even Sprite, but just make sure you adjust the seasonings. Now to the pot, we'll season that with 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. We'll add in our Thai chilies for a little bit of that heat, and some ground black pepper. I'm gonna bring this up to a boil, reduce the heat to low, and let that simmer covered with a slight crack for anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes or until the pork ribs are mostly tender. Then the final step is turning the heat up to medium-high, make any adjustments to the seasonings, and then letting this cook uncovered for about 5 minutes and letting the sauce reduce by half. We want that sauce to get nice and sticky and really glaze over our ribs. Once we get it to that point, it's time to plate. We're gonna get these ribs stacked up. Then we'll garnish with some sesame seeds and green onions. Now these ribs are good on their own, and they do lean towards the sweet and salty flavor profile, but honestly, it's best enjoyed with some white rice to allow those grains to really absorb in all that flavor. And just like that, you've made Suon Ram Man at home in about an hour. As always, the recipe and measurements are on my blog at feedthepudge.com. And if you've made it this far, let me know in the comments section what's a nostalgic dish that reminds you of your childhood. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Just look how it pulls off that bone. The rib is tender, it pulls right off the bone, it's sweet, it's sticky, there's a hint of smokiness from the Nuoc Mao. It's so good. You guys have to try this one. Mm-hmm.